trying to say that he's gonna converge the larger agencies.
Oh, that's another thing that he did, because
Back in 2007, I was part of that so-called conversion of DHS and Department of Health,
yes.
which seems to be his prime pick for trying to merge again. What can you tell us about your stand on that and how you can change the agencies?
Merging the agencies is not his plan. He heard me talking about, because they usually record me everywhere I go, which is great. I love it. I hope they play it for their people. He's heard me talk about cutting the number of regulatory boards and commissions, because we have more than the president has in Arkansas. That's too much for the government. And so he went in an urgent manner, and we're going to slash 50%. Well, I never said slash 50%. I just said we've got too many regulatory boards and commissions, and we need to cut some of these out. But he went in there and said aggressively, we're going to cut 50%. So I don't know how he's going to do that. It's going to be interesting to watch if he's re-elected governor. But I don't expect a lot of the things that he's promising right now. If you notice, all of his promises are, we're going to do this in 2019. We're going to do this in 2020, and we're going to. It's like, what about right now? What about now? So, you just have to take what he's saying right now and realize that rather than electing him based on what he's saying he's going to do, I'm asking people to decide on whether or not they're going to vote for him based on what he's done. Because, folks, all those things that I've told you that have happened in the first 4 years, if we have grown spending, increased taxes, increased regulatory burdens, if we've done all these things knowing he had to run for re-election, can you imagine what the next 4 years is going to be like knowing he doesn't have to run? And this is why I tell people you won't see me in the governor's race again. Because if we do even 4 more years of what we've just done, we're already becoming a purple state. We've moved from red to purple, which is between red and blue. You give him 4 more years of unbridled access, there is no way a Republican's going to be able to win in 4 years.
That's right.
Yes.
There's an Asa car right here with Asa signs on it, sticking Asa signs up and down the road right now. How tactful is that?
Yeah, that's okay.
That is.
That's okay. I wish that you should invite him in. In fact, the governor's out there telling him, we need to debate. Tell him we need to debate. Hey, this is the funny thing. The reason you can tell him, say, hey, y'all don't hang out. Let's come on in here. Let's bring all the ace people in. Let's have a debate, please. No, folks, since I announced on January 1 that I was running for governor, I have formally challenged the governor over and over and over to a debate. Why? Because the people of this state, and certainly the people of the Republican Party, have a
He
right.
just took off. It must have been Asa.
The people of this state have a right to see us on the same stage in a Lincoln-Douglas format debate, which means Lincoln-Douglas means no bias media asking preset questions.
Right.
It means somebody standing there, a moderator with a stopwatch, and saying, okay, you two, flip a coin. Whoever heads, you go first, you go second, okay, go. And it's just Jan and Asa, one-on-one, hashing out the issues, rebuttal, back and forth. And see, he keeps coming up with excuses why he won't debate me. But tonight, and the reason I did what I did tonight, folks, I know some people thought it was tacky, and I'm sorry, it was not a slam at the Saline County Republican Committee. I don't have any issues with the committee. I promise I don't. It was a way to make a statement to the governor and to his supporters. Look, this will be the second time that he's managed to be in the same room with me long enough to deliver a speech, and for me to be able to deliver a speech. Well, if you can be in the same room with me, in the same town, why can't we be in the same room and have a debate?
Yeah.
So that's what it's about. So many of your friends say, well, she just did the Saline County Republican Committee wrong. No, I didn't. I really, no problem with the committee. It's about the people and your right to get to see us both and decide who's telling the truth and who's really here wanting to sit in that governor's seat for the right reason, which is the people of the state. By the way, if you see the governor, it makes people say, what about that debate? Oh, I have to tell you all funny, okay, just real quick. he and I were for the first time in the same room last weekend at the Boone County Republican Reagan Day dinner. I had been invited 6 months ago to be their keynote speaker. Well, as we've progressed in this race and he sees that actually his opponent, which he won't even call my name, that's okay, that we're actually gaining traction and momentum and our base is growing and people are excited and our base is fired up and we're winning some of the polls. He's like, uh-oh. So he asked to speak there too. And the committee changed things around and said, okay, well, Jan, listen, the governor wants to come speak, so what we're going to do is we're going to have you speak first, and then the governor is going to speak, because, you know, he's the governor. I said, no, see, you invited me 6 months ago to be your keynote speaker, and keynote by protocol is the final speaker. So, no, we're going to go with the original terms, or I'm not coming.
Yeah.
You know me, I'm a stick with it kind of gal. I did stick with it. And unfortunately for them, they had sold tickets for months with my picture on the flyer and I was their speaker. And so all these people who bought tickets got mad because I had to go on social media and say, folks, listen, you know, the terms I agreed on, so I may not be, so people started calling, well, my money back. And so then the committee calls me back and says, you know, we need to rethink that. Maybe what if we did this? What if we had Asa speak and then you speak and then we give him 5 minutes for rebuttal? I said, if we're going to do that, let's just have a debate. Just tell the governor, so let's just have an all-out debate. Let's just do it right there in Harrison, Arkansas, Boone County. I'm all for it. Let's do that. No, they didn't want to do that. So ultimately, I got the final say. Asa speaks first, Jan Morgan speaks, and then because I know how they do, I said, oh, and I want one little disclaimer in there. I don't care what kind of government business is going on. If he misses his time slot, he doesn't get to come in and speak after me. If he misses his time slot, doors are locked.
Yeah.
There's a lot of parties. It was a fun night. It was a great night. So anyway. Yes, sir.
I have 2 questions.
Okay. I do not. Okay, so you read more. My water's here.
This Colorado has had legalized marijuana, recreational marijuana for, I don't know, going on 5 years, and there's a lot of statistics that come in. Could you address how you feel about legalized recreational marijuana and that whole issue? And then the second question is, I believe Missouri has made English the official language in the state of Missouri, and they have a whole lot less problems with illegal aliens up there. Can you address that?
On the medical marijuana, that's already passed. My opinion is irrelevant because it's already passed. The people voted on it. And I'm the people's governor. I'm not, you know, if the people want something bad enough, I'm not going to stand in their way. But what I would do, and the difference between me and our current governor is, before you vote on something like that, that has some very dramatic social implications, I would have done my homework and say, you know, this is not reinventing the wheel. Let's look at what's happened in some other states that have opened that door. Let's present to the people the pros and the cons. And then let an educated population decide what the people want. That's the way I believe in handling it. Personally, I've never smoked marijuana. I'm not into the whole drug thing. But I do know for a fact there are people who have cancer, who are able to get off of opiates, and in some cases cancer where they could not even swallow food. They could not keep food down during their treatments, but because of medical marijuana, they were able to consume food, and it helped them become healthier. I do know for a fact there are cases that medical marijuana has helped. I know a Marine right now who, he's in a wheelchair. His body is just broken apart. And he has to have, he said, 8 to 10 hydrocodone pills a day just to deal with the pain. Well, there are side effects of that, many side effects that make his life even worse, health complications like constipation. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna, you know, I'm always real with you, okay? So, but he says, Jane, you know, if I could use medical marijuana, I don't have to have all these opiates. I want off of these opiates. They're affecting my hearing, there are all these other bad effects. But he said, if I get a medical marijuana prescription, I'm going to lose my gun rights. And I'm in a wheelchair. I need to be able to defend my life. I am vulnerable. So what I hate is that it's put us in that kind of situation. Legalization of marijuana, that's not a Dan Morgan thing. I just don't. I hate to see us go down that road. I hate the whole opiate. We've got enough of an addiction issue right now as it is, a drug problem. We're second in the nation in opiate addiction. We are writing, folks, in the state of Arkansas, we're writing 114 prescriptions for every 100 residents in this state.
Yep.
I know for a fact, there are probably people in this room who are not intentionally, but are dependent on opiates. Or somebody in your family. It's so widespread that everybody knows somebody. And anybody who's having to live with that in their family knows the kind of devastation it breaks on a family. Financially, and you get to the point where if you can't get those pills and you have to find other ways. And here's the scary part too. You know, when you start cracking down on opiate addiction and people can't get their prescriptions, they're going to move to something stronger like fentanyl or heroin. And fentanyl is highly dangerous. I just hate it that we've come to that point in our state. I am excited about some of the progress we've made on the federal level. On the federal level, we now have database sharing so that pharmacists, and Steve can tell you that used to be a problem. It's no longer a problem. Now you can go into one pharmacy and you get the prescription filled for hydrocodone, and then you can't go, across town with a different prescription from a different doctor to a different pharmacy because that pharmacy is going to be able to see that you just got one filled over here. So that's going to cut down a lot of that. We also, our Attorney General is in the midst of a lawsuit. Now she's battling with some other people over a lawsuit to sue the distributors, the opioid manufacturers.
Yeah.
And then I think that we have to also look at our doctors and say, look, ladies and gentlemen, this is a highly addictive drug. Opiates are highly addictive. And we need to be very careful about prescribing them to our people. Because if we weren't prescribing them so much, and I know for a fact that there are a number of doctors out there getting kickbacks based on the number of opiates they prescribe. Pharma industry is a big deal. Billions on billions of dollars. So there's a lot of reform that needs to happen on many levels on that front. But